Hi there and welcome to Transformer Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2025 Wildwood 25Ice. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. You do have the observation camera, which this customer did opt for. You got your spare tire located right here in the back. And then you do have your exterior shower, which does work off your standard 751 key, which should come included with your unit. It's just going to be that silver key. You're just sticking into that hole like so, twisting it open, and you do get your swivel shower head with hot and cold water. Now we're just going to move along to the driver's side of the unit. Popping this cover off that back bumper. This is typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, so that's why there's not one in here yet. But once after your first use, you are going to want to throw that in there. Try to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible, and the cap does just press into place. Like so. Got your cable satellite inlet. And then right down from there, you do have your main sewer outlet. You're just taking note of these two ears. These ears here, it's gonna be the same ears that your sewer hose have, and they just line up like with these like so, and they twist and lock into place. Then you got your gray valve and your black valve. You always want to empty your black valve first, as it's gonna be your dirtiest water flowed from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray tank, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Right beside that, you do have your stabilizer jack. The way that works is you got a 3/4 inch drive nut here, hooking that tool up, which is located inside the front compartment, running this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 turn to snug it up, and it's going to take any bounce or sway you see you have in the unit right now away. Just another thing to keep in mind that these are stabilizing jacks, they're not leveling jacks. And when it comes time to putting them up and down, using an impact is okay, but just being very careful how much torque you put on them, because you do run the risk of bending them. Next, you do have your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You're just lining up this notch with this side, on this notch with that side. Firmly press it into place. You got an 1/8 turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do your standard 30 amp plug end. Most campsites should have this, and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include a 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 15 amps of power. You can't run your air conditioner. It is really just to run your fridge and your lights and charge up your battery. Next, you do your black tank flush. So the way that works is if you're noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor around the unit, you're gonna notice there is a caution sticker here. You do have to have your sewer hose connected and your black tank open. Reason being, you're pushing pressure into the tank. If the pressure has nowhere to go, it could expand to the point of cracking. So just be mindful whenever you are using that you're hooked up and open. With your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's gonna pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your pump. A little bit further up ahead near the front of the unit, you got that first storage compartment. Inside here is where we have that standard starter kit. You got that 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, and then that 15 amp park adapter, which I've already told you about, and then just some other miscellaneous goodies. That is that inside there. Now around the front of the unit, you know, this big tray in the front. Customer opted to go with this. I'm pretty sure it's for a generator, but I'm not positive. Underneath, you have to go with a different tank cover because of this top piece here. Most of the time you get what you need done just by undoing the zipper and kind of folding the cover back. Of course, being gentle just so you don't run the risk of ripping it. On the front of the regulator, you do have a selector valve. I'm going to take this cover right off just for the purpose of the video so you can see what I'm talking about. It does just slide off. When they're new, they are a little tight, so after a few times taking it on and off, it should loosen up a little bit. Once you have that off, set it off to the side. At the front now, you can see that regulator that I'm talking about. With the arrow pointed this way, you're gonna be drawing out this tank. If this tank were to go dry, you can just flip it over to the other side and then start drawing off this tank while that one's getting filled. To open it counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, opening up all the way, opens up the flow of propane to the unit. On the front, you got a battery disconnect. With it in the on position like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position and pull that key out, The batteries are disconnected from the unit. It also just disables the 12-volt system. Battery located in that box up front. Then you got your storage compartment on this side, which does go right through the first one I showed you. On the wall, you got your manual override for your front tongue jack, and then you do have that other tool for your stabilizer jacks. This is a dry erase surface. Inside this compartment here, you do have a shore power mini fridge. I say shore power because it's not going to run while you drive. It does only work when you're plugged in. Down below, you got a propane quick connect. So if you had a portable barbecue and you wanted the quick connect line to go to that, you contact the parts department and they can get you set up with that. It doesn't come included with the unit, but we do have the quick connect line, the quick connect connection in case you wanted to go with the line. Now a little more up ahead, in between the two tires, you do have your fresh tank drain. It's that big white valve back there. Opening that up does drain the fresh tank. You got two 120 plugins. You do also, you're pre-mounted for an exterior TV, coax outlet. Then you got your fresh water fill. So if you're out boondocking or you don't have water at site, put a garden hose in there, turn it on, and that is what fills that fresh tank. Once the fresh tank's full, it is gonna pour water out of that vent tube. Now, before we get inside, just underneath, you got your two low point drains right down there. So if you don't want the water going stale or stagnant, or you're done winterizing for the year, and you just want to crack those open, that's where you do so. Now you got your on-demand hot water heater. So this isn't going to be like your traditional hot water heaters. Traditionally, you bypass them because you don't want antifreeze going into them. This one, you do actually run antifreeze through it. Once you're completely done your winterizing process, cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open throughout the period of winter, so that way you give that antifreeze a place to escape once it starts gelling up. Power switch that does supply power to the thermostat inside. If you get inside, you're just taking that assist handle, pushing up 49 degrees, it'll lock into place. Then that'll allow you to open up that door. You do have to have the door all the way open for the stairs to come out, and then you can just pull that tab, allowing those stairs to pull on down towards you. Then you can climb on inside the unit. You got your fire extinguisher right on the left. First thing you're going to notice, just like home, pull the pin and shoot. This big light switch here turns on all the main living space lights. It is a dimmer, so you can go bright or dim. Then you got your awning LED light, and of course some accent lightings that do go on behind the slide outs. Next, you got your awning control. Hitting and pushing that out button, the awning is going to start making its way out. You'll know that awning's fully extended when you see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Unfortunately, today I don't think we're going to be able to get it all the way out, but we will be able to get it out enough so that you can see what I mean. Whenever you're putting this out, just keeping an eye on wind speeds. Once they start picking up, you're going to want to make sure you bring in that awning. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. As you can see, it's all the space we have today to go out. Sure, to start raining, take any arm, front or rear, and just pull down on it. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing the water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it allows for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure you do push these arms back to straight before you run the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. Bringing the awning in is as simple as holding the in button. The awning's going to roll all the way in. Once the awning contacts the side of the trailer, it automatically cuts the motor out. Slide out button, pushing and holding that extend button. Always making sure you check on what's on either side of the slide, inside and out, whenever you're operating it. The reason I say that is sometimes even inside things tend to shift during travel, so you don't want to be catching anything in there, causing any damage. Then you do got your JBL sound system right next to it. Pretty much just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. Solar controller right up top. We got it currently set up so that it'll just continuously charge your batteries. As the sun hits them, there's a lot more settings you can go in depth with. You can check out the owner's manual for more information on that. And then right up top, you do got your monitor reading system. So you got your fresh, which empty, 1/3, 2/3, and then full. Battery, low, fair, good, C is charging. And then you got your black and your gray. Black 2 and galley isn't hooked up because you don't have a black 2 or a galley. Now taking a step on inside, We'll step into the bathroom. The light switch turns on a little mirror accent lights, and then the other light is on its own center push button. To get this lid to open, cranking it open clockwise all the way, you're gonna notice the flap opens up. You're gonna notice you're straight into the atmosphere, so if it were to start raining, of course it's gonna get wet in here, and you would have to make sure that that is down before you travel, otherwise you could cause damage to the lid. Of course, unless you went with a max air cover, it's essentially a cover that goes right over top of this fan, would allow you to leave it open while traveling, and of course it wouldn't get wet in here if it were to start raining. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact your parts department. They can put together a quote for you. Switch to turn the fan on just there in the corner. Other than that, standard bathroom, hot and cold water at the shower and everything else. You got a false panel here with just 2 screws that would give you access to the back of the hot water heater in case you were to ever need to go back there. There shouldn't be any bypass valves on that, and if there are, don't touch them. Now into the main living space. You got your sink with hot and cold water. Binder has a bunch of different manuals and remotes. This is going to be for your generator, and then you got some extra stuff for your camera system. Opening up this here, flipping it back, of course being careful because it is glass. Whenever you're running your stovetop, I always recommend cracking this window open, just so you're allowing some of those fumes to escape out. And speaking of that, because the stove runs off propane as well as the furnace and possibly a couple other things, you do have an LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents and ventilate it out a little bit, get some fresh oxygen inside. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you ever spray something around it, that's probably what it's going to be, but use your best judgment. Get the stove to light, pretty simple. Push the knob in, turn it over to high, and hit the igniter. Now, whenever you've had your propane system off for a while, it allows air into the system. So sometimes it can take a few minutes to purge it. Of course, I had the system running earlier, so that's why it did fire up so quickly. But typically, it would be allowing air into the system, so it could take a few minutes just to purge everything out. I'm going to be folding that back down, waiting until it cools off, not while it's hot, and being careful because it is glass. You got accent lights on those knobs. And then, of course, going back to the purging thing, what I always do for turning on my propane system, I'll just fire up the stove quickly because it's the easiest way to purge all the air out of the lines. That way, if you go to fire your furnace or your water heater, you're not getting any fault codes because there's no propane getting to it quick enough. Microwave, just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. Now you got your refrigerator, freezer, right down below. That is the control for both. Clockwise all the way is going to be its coldest setting. Anywhere before that's a warmer setting. There's off-grid rating. Just letting you know the most energy efficient setting you can run the fridge when you're running on around 12 volt to save the most power. Charcoal filter to help with fridge odors. Again, we sell more of those here at the store, and you can contact our parts department for a quote a couple of those. Little cool feature behind the TV and the fireplace, opening up that door handle, you do get a little pantry space. TV, always making sure you got the travel strap latched. Does go the same for the bathroom and the bedroom door. You got these travel straps. If they're not latched, the door can slide around freely, causing damage whenever you're traveling. So, of course, always double checking your travel straps before you leave. That way you're not causing any damage. Fireplace, pretty simple. Power button on the far left. That little light button turns your different light colors. Then you got your different fan mode settings. And then you can set your set temperature with the far right button. And it goes all the way to, I believe, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry. It'll go to 100. You can either just turn it on, off, just to have the fan running, or back to 41 degrees. Turn that off with the power button. And now you got your Versa Lounge. Super cool. You got a bunch of different ways you can set it up. This does go down into a bed space. You do just have to pull the bottom feet from underneath the table, set your tabletops on these ledges, and you'd have yourself another bed in case you were to have guests. It's currently set up like it is now with the couch and the table combo. The couch also does fold out into its own bed as well. You're just having to grab the foot of the couch and pull, and it would automatically fold out. Now this piece here is in stake pockets, so you can take this out, Flip it to the other side, lining it up with the stake pockets again. And now you have more of a sectional space. And then of course they include some more cushions to fill that in. And of course you can get creative with this system. You could pull this right off and just make one massive bed if you wanted to. It's going to be a personal preference thing. Storage all underneath this as well. On the wall you do your thermostat. Pushing that once, it's going to illuminate itself. Pushing it again, you go into your modes. So you got cool plus heat, and then of course you got dry, which is a dehumidifying mode. It's going to try and take as much moisture out of the air as possible with kicking the air conditioner in and out. One more time, you cycle back to off. So we'll just go over cool plus heat. Cool plus heat just works off of what you have your room set to and what the room is sensing it's at. It's going to kick either the furnace on or the air conditioner on, depending on what it thinks you need, obviously. And if you're on cool, you can run it. It goes for either setting, but when you're in cool, you got an auto fan setting. So it's going to search, first go to auto, and that's the recommendation I make for leaving it on, because it's going to kick it in and out based on what you have the room temperature set to. You can set that fan to run on high or low full time if you want, but it's just going to run full time regardless of what the room is at. Whenever you're in heat, the furnace does have only one fan setting. It's going to run continuously until the room senses it's at temperature. You can turn the fan on using the air conditioner just by hitting the button twice. You can go over high or low, and that would just be moving air around with the fan. Whenever you're using the air conditioner or the fan, you can run these louvers open, in which case it dumps all its air into the living space, or you can close them off and it'll move the air throughout. Last but not least, we're taking a step into the bedroom. Light switch up top there. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. You got your fire exit. Push this right out of the unit. Take your red handle, pull it. The screen's going to pop out of place, and at that point you can hop right on out. And then you do have a Versa tilt bed, so if you're pushing and holding that up button, the bed's going to bend its way up. And then obviously if you hold it down, it's going to bend down. Storage all around, of course. And then you do have a nice little closet. And that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.